Slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, degenerate sleuths of the night. We gather to boldly go where others have refused. Welcome to the DT show, you salty mofos.
A man accused of killing 4 college students is behind bars, and he has ties to northeastern and central Pennsylvania. State police say 28-year-old Bryan Kohberger was arrested this morning at a home in Chestnut Hill Township.
I can't find any case law that would support that idea. That somehow a warrant would be needed for DNA left at a crime scene.
We are expecting to learn more about the allegations against the girlfriend of a Boston police officer who was found unresponsive in the snow Saturday morning. I-Team sources say Karen Reed was in a relationship with John O'Keefe. She's facing charges including motor vehicle homicide and manslaughter.
So, the Commonwealth just provided the court with information that causes me grave concern. The implications of that information may have profound effects on this defense and defense counsel.
So, get your popcorn ready and your choice of drink. Get your butt on your seat. Like, comment, and subscribe for a treat. Here we go. It's time for the show. The Drunk Turkey Show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. It's good to see everyone. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Ring that notification bell. You guys know what to do. Today, we're going to talk about the Karen Reed case and the trial that's currently going on. It's been an exciting one so far. I think there's been a lot of bombs dropped, some truth bombs dropped in this case that have kind of annihilated some of the defense's conspiracy theories. And, well, today I was supposed to have Connor on. You know, Connor's one of our favorite subscribers and members. She's in the chat, I believe, I hope. She said she would be. She was going to come on and explain her side. Me and her have had quite a few colorful discussions on the Karen Reed case, and you know, I wanted to kind of get to know and pick her brain about what it is that she sees that I don't see, and why she thinks that there's such a cover-up in this case, because to me I think it's fairly obvious. You know, being 100% honest here, I think there's more concrete evidence in this case than in the Bryan Kohberger case, and you guys know how solid I think the Bryan Kohberger case is. You know, and to kind of explain that is that on the Bryan Kohberger case, they have his DNA on a knife sheath. That's all the concrete evidence that they have. I mean, they have him buying it and purchasing, and, you know, they have him being in the area X amount of times. But unlike the Karen Reed case where there's DNA, there's a body, there's a suspect, a murder weapon, such as the vehicle, and so much more. And, you know, even the statements of the suspect in her own words to the media have all kind of compiled against her. And so today I didn't watch the first trial. So let's start off there. I didn't watch the first trial. You know, a lot of people tell me, hey, if you would have watched the first trial, you probably would have, you know, thought she was innocent too. And maybe so. You know, there was some question marks early on. Some of the ones that Connor brings up, and I've written them, most of them down for the most part. And I'm going to break down her thoughts and her theories and bring it in with my thoughts and theories and facts. But like I was saying, in this case here, there's a lot of, like, I would have probably been there, right? You know, how long to die in the cold at 2:27? I mean, that's suspicious before we figure out that really didn't happen in that manner, right? But last year or before the trial, I probably would have been standing there. Now, the difference between me and many is that I don't stick to a narrative. I understand when I'm wrong, and I can admit when I'm wrong. And I have in the past. There's been so many things that I've done that wasn't 100% perfect, right? And I've come back and said, hey, for instance, Bryan Kohberger and that vehicle that's parked on the side of his house, and I thought maybe he called 911. Somebody presented me evidence saying that no, it was a female that called 911. Doesn't mean that he wasn't out there at that time, but that a female had called 911 that day. I looked it up. Sure enough, that was the case. I didn't stick to that narrative. I followed the evidence. I said, all right, it wasn't that case. But and so many others find it hard. And I think that that's been not just in this case, but in multiple cases. Like Richard Allen is another one. A lot of people thought that Ron Logan had a lot to do with that case. And I understand why. I too would have been with them in the beginning. Hey, this is suspicious. But I followed the evidence, and I would have said, hey, this Richard Allen guy's confessed. This Richard Allen guy admitted that he was there. You look at the video and you can tell that the person walking on the bridge is not a guy that is very tall. We've broken it down so many times. You can tell by the sagginess of the pants, the folded up jeans, the length of the sleeves on the arms are all indications of a shorter person purchasing items that are not tailor-made, right? You're looking at Delphi, Indiana, a small community. Probably has a few stores. It's not going to have like, all right, well, if you're extra short, we're going to have a selection for you. You're kind of stuck with what they have, and that's going to end up fitting you big. So I take those type of details and stuff, and I look at it and I put it into this case here with Karen Reed. And to me, I find it more obvious. I think that the evidence is clearer in this case than either Bryan Kohberger or Richard Allen. And I think it's stronger, 110% honest with you guys. Now, I understand Proctor said some things and he got fired because of the words that he used and things of that nature. But there was other officers that were involved in this case. And I'm not one to believe that just because one officer said some bad things, that a murderer should go free. But let's break down what Connor's theories are and what I think and everything in between. She decided not to join us. I did tell her on the Discord, I was like, hey, because she told me that she was a little bit nervous that maybe I was going to embarrass her or annihilate her or whatever the case may be. And I was like, I've never done that. I've had pro burgers on the channel and we've had a great discussion, a civil discussion without getting too crazy. And so I was a little bit taken back that she thought maybe that would have been the case, but I understand the nerves and the anxiousness. But a lot of that also had to do with the fact that the last time I was in a debate happened to be with Ms. Vargas, the defense witness for the Bryan Kohberger case, the IGG witness, and I was able to walk her into a corner and agree with what I was saying. And so I do understand why somebody might be a little bit pressured to do it. All righty, so let's break down what she said and what we have here. So I asked her, what do you believe? What is it that's going on? Was this planned event? Did they plan on doing this? Who, what, when, where, and why? She said that this was not planned. And what she thinks happened is that because Higgins and Karen Reed were in this out of their relationship or out of her relationship, extracurricular relationship, they were talking, and because Karen Reed kind of dissed him, that Brian Higgins and Brian Albert decided that they were going to tell John O'Keefe that his girl is a hoe. And that's the terms that Connor used, not mine. I swear. Connor, if you're in here, please back me up on that. They were going to tell him that was what's going on. And because they were all intoxicated and drunk, that it wasn't planned. They believe that they lured him into the basement. All right. They lured him into the basement. They confronted him about his girlfriend's wholeness. And then he decided he was going to leave and say, no, enough of this. Walks up. He gets pulled back by the back pocket and hits his head. The dog bites him. And, she says some other things that are kind of weird, but I'll try to break them down as we go along. So the first thing that she tells me is that there's a glitch in the Apple data that she believes that John O'Keefe was dropped off around 12:23, 21, somewhere around there, and that the flights of stairs that were taken were him going up and down the staircase inside of the house. You know, the problem with that, though, is there's more than just the phone data, right? Well, I don't even understand what glitch she's talking about, to be honest with you. But there's the phone data, right? Oh, so she's saying that the glitch is because Whiffen indicated that there are flights of steps taken, but that he's in the car. Now, Whiffen did an experiment, right? And he wanted to test out if somebody has the phone in their hand while you're driving and you're changing elevation, would that count as some steps and flights? You know what, let me go to that first. And so those flights happened at 12:22, 12 and 17 seconds, 12:22 and 32 seconds, and 12:24 and 37 seconds. Now they were able to pinpoint where the phone was, not just based on the Waze application on John O'Keefe's phone and Karen Reed's phone, but also the SUV location and the turn cycles and the SD chip that was inside of the SUV. And they were able to tie John's phone, Karen's phone, and the SUV phone together with a couple of events that occurred. And that one is the 3-point turn. This is why during the trial they were so adamant about the 3-point turn and when it occurred and what time it happened, because they were able to pinpoint that with John O'Keefe's phone. Now, he talked about the 3 flights of stairs, and these 3 flights of stairs happening while he's in the vehicle, and they were able to get GPS data from his phone because they were using the Waze very accurately and pinpoint where he was when these flights of stairs occurred. And as you can see right here, number 26, I believe, is where the address is for the 54 Fairview Road. They had made a wrong turn down here at 3, and I think that's when they did the 3-point turn to come back, or maybe over here. I really don't know, but as you can see, there's one here, one down the road, and one further up. Now, what this is this. This is a topographic map. Now, Connor says that the area is flat. It's not flat. Now, over here off of, it says Seacrest, but it's Fairview, and it's 54 right here. Right here, you're looking at about 72 to 64 feet, right, of elevation. Down here, where the vehicle gathered a different elevation, it is closer to about 98 to 105 feet. So you're seeing a difference of about 30 feet there. And then over here in the orange, it's even higher. So the elevation of the topography of the area is definitely not flat. Not flat at all. Sorry. All right, let's continue. And this is what Mr. Whiffen also indicates as well, is that the area is not flat. There is elevation, and there's elevation change. Now, he said that if you had the phone on the dashboard, that's one thing. But if you have it on your pocket or in your hand, that's a different thing. Now, what she says is that, and she being Connor, is that he gets dropped off. This is the weird thing too, right? So he gets dropped off at 12:24, according to her. She still doesn't leave until 12:32. Karen Reed don't call him until 12:33. Now, she's saying that, which is kind of confusing, because she says a couple of different things. She tells me that at one point, she thinks maybe the phone was outside the entire time, which makes no sense. If he made it, like, did he drop it on his way out? I don't understand that. But because the phone drops temperature and stuff like that. She's trying to account for that, which doesn't make sense. But she mentions that what Jen McCabe, her role in this was the person to make it seem like John never got into the house. And so she was saying that the phone calls between Karen Reed and John O'Keefe during the time in which they happened are actually her with both phones at one point, to try to make it seem like he never got there. Like, are you pulling up here? You know, whatever the case may be. Which I found far-fetched, I'll be honest with you. It's just way far-fetched. But Karen doesn't call. She's supposedly waiting until, she's waiting for him so that she can figure out if she can go, right? That's what supposedly is what's happening. But she doesn't make a call then. She waits until after she supposedly leaves at 12:31 or 12:32. So regardless of that it's far-fetched. I'm sorry, Connor. I'm not trying to be mean, but that's far-fetched. All right. So here are some of the things that I have to try to disprove what Connor was saying. So they have a Face ID at 12:52 to unlock the phone. All right, and 12:52. This is actually 12:52. So it's 12 minutes after midnight. This is military time. And that at about 13 minutes after midnight, the lock button is pressed. Again, 14 minutes after midnight, and this goes on. And you can see the Face ID is being used. Lock buttons at 24. The Waze application is being turned off at around that time as well. That's when he turns off the Waze application and then locks it. He uses his Face ID at 12:27. And again, at some of these points, Connor alludes that John is, I guess, passed out or something, and they're using his face to open the phone during this time so they can make it seem like he's not in the house. So this is 29 minutes after midnight. So at 32 minutes after midnight, which there is a little bit of a contention of when this was. I think there's like a 29-second difference. So the phones are all different, right? Whether it was Karen Reed's phone, John O'Keefe's phone. I mean, the times are all different on the devices, whether it's John's device, Karen's device, or the SUV. So that's why it was so important to get the 3-point turn down. The reason to get the 3-point turn down is so that they can sync all those times together and narrow down exactly what time it was when John O'Keefe locked his phone, and what's that correlation with the reverse motion at over 30% throttle, which is what triggered the event that was recorded, which I think she was actually accelerating twice that amount at over 70% throttle. So right here you can tell, I mean, this isn't even by a little bit, but the whole scenario of it being at 12 something or whatever the case may be, at 12:24 is just out the window for me. The flights of stairs happened before he's out of the vehicle. And so, yeah, it's out of the vehicle. All right. So these are the pocket states. Now, what a pocket state is, apparently what the phone does is the phone will, I guess, open up the camera and see if there's something there. And if it's not, it's considered a pocket state. If there's, if you have it on your desk and it can see, then it's considered cleared. And it goes into a pocket state at 33 minutes and 14 seconds. And it is in pocket state for 5 hours and 19 minutes. So, and it has 26,000 records during this time for pocket state. This is the health data. Talks about the times. It says that he locked his phone for the last time at 32 minutes after the hour, after midnight. Again, this is when Karen Reed starts calling him. An extended amount of time. I mean, she's supposedly waiting outside, waiting for him. All right. Now, one of the things that she mentions is the phone and the temperature of the phone dropping and things of that nature. Now, when I went back and I looked at the testimony of Whiffen, he mentions that the phone does drop. When he put it into a freezer, it dropped 36 degrees in a matter of 13 minutes. Right now, this phone does drop temperature. Let me pull up the battery temperature real quick. It's in this one too. It does drop battery temperature as well. It talks about the time. This one's an easier one to look at. So this is the time in which the phone temperature is being recorded. You're seeing 25 degrees Celsius, upwards to 30, and this is at between 25 and 30. This is at what is it, 10:40 p.m. And then this one's at 11:28. It's about 30 degrees Celsius. And then at about 1:13, it's back at between 25 and 30. So it's consistent with what it was at 10:40. So probably inside of a vehicle is what I would guesstimate, as these are the times when he was leaving. But here, instead of going back up, which is what you would expect if he went inside of a house, at 22 minutes, it drops down even more. It drops down to 25, which is the same at 48. So at the very first one. And then at 37, it is dropping down significantly, and it's continuing to go down further. Now, it's not dropping at the same rate as when Whiffen put in the cell phone in the freezer, right? It's dropping at a slower rate. Now, reason behind that is because it's underneath the body of somebody who, even 5 hours later, was still at 82 degrees core temperature. I'm not sure what his back would have been, but it would have been somewhat protected from the elements. So what does this tell me? That it drops down too cold to be inside somebody's house, and not cold enough for it to be outside exposed to the elements on its own. And then at 6:06 is when it comes back alive. So the question becomes, with a couple of different things, right? So here's the other one with the temperature, the battery temp that I had. Shows you right here the temperature of it, 86 degrees, 82, and then it starts to drop to 72 degrees, 66 degrees, 61. So it's not dropping to like a very quick amount like it was when it was just in the freezer. So this tells you that it was underneath somebody. Now during this time, GPS data is when it starts to go kind of haywire, right? It starts to loosen up a little bit. And there is a moment in time, it talks about it right here, a 5 seconds of location data between 38 minutes and 16 seconds and 38 minutes and 21 seconds after midnight, where the lowest accuracy of 18 meters and the highest accuracy of 7 meters are shown in white and closest to the recorded house. So during this 5 second moment is the only time that his phone registers anywhere possible that he was inside of the house. Much different time than when she was claiming the flight of stairs happened, which was at 22 minutes after the new hour. Big difference. Big difference there. And again, there's another 5 seconds when it happens again, but that's between 53 minutes and 7 seconds after midnight, and 53 minutes and 11 seconds. So those 5 minutes or 5 seconds are the only two times where it drops down significantly for something to have happened. So Connor believes that in that 5 seconds, somehow he managed to go inside, get jumped. I don't know where they kept him at, because his phone was going down in a pocket state, but it wasn't dropping as if it was outside. It wasn't staying warm. The battery temperature wasn't staying warm as if it was inside. So where are we at? You know, the only logical explanation is that it was outside underneath the body of the victim, John, who was keeping the phone somewhat warm. Now, one of the things that I was thinking about is like, all right, so they had to have taken him outside. Now Connor says two different things: that they had his phone, they were using his phone inside, and they were using his face to open his phone. And at the same time, she also says that maybe perhaps the phone was outside and they were looking at Karen Reed, waiting for her to leave. I mean, it's very contradictory to a lot of extent, but a lot of the free Karen Reed looks at things from only face value, right? They don't look at the evidence and try to see if it fits all, or look at the accusation or the theory and see if it fits all the evidence, because then it becomes very foolish and ridiculous. All right, so during these 5 seconds I don't know how John's phone gets outside without recording any steps back by the I don't get it. It teleported, I guess. And the other thing is too is, was it Alan Jackson mentioned that the shoe had fallen off? Could have been because they were dragging him. The problem with that is, and let me pull it up real quick, is on the dash cam, and I asked my buddy Artworks also about this, but on the dash cam here, you're going to be able to see where you're going to see them working on John O'Keefe right here. And it's kind of hard to see, but you're going to be able to see that his feet are actually facing towards the street where his shoe was, right? And so the first thing that when Alan Jackson mentioned the shoe, and the shoe could have been dropped off while they dragged him outside, was, well, that doesn't make sense because the shoe would have been found between the body and the house, not where the street is. The other thing is they talked about the grass stains being a result of being dragged out to the lawn. Well, the problem with that is when you look at the grass stains, one, there's not a swivel motion where they had to have turned his body around because they're pulling him out. They're dragging him out. If you're dragging his buttocks on the ground, you're having to pull his upper torso behind you, right? And so, that's how the shoe falls off. He's facing the wrong way. He would have been facing the other way. Now, some of the other things that Connor mentions, and she points out to Proctor a lot, and I wanted to bring this up real quick before I forget, but like the inverted camera, right? My biggest thing about the inverted camera is what are you expecting if you uninvert it, that you're going to see the passenger side? No, you're going to see the same side. And it's been proven and shown that multiple cameras in that police station record inverted. Well, anyways, their biggest thing is that, well, they're hiding the other side. I don't think so. I mean, that's just what happens when you pull in to the Sally Port. And typically there's a way you pull in and get out of Sally Ports. There's a directional means, at least the department that every department that I've ever seen. It's one way in and then you go out the other way, but departments are different in other places. But if that's the same case here, then it would have always been on the other side. There's just nothing they could have done about that. The second thing is that their complaint is that Proctor was looking at the taillight there. My question is, if Proctor is the quote unquote, and the defense wants to use this, that he's their lead detective. If he's the lead detective, when do you expect the lead detective to look at the murder weapon? I mean, nobody can process it. The evidence people can't do their job. Nobody can do anything until the lead detective does what he has to do first. Once the lead detective sees it, documents it, whatever, then the evidence techs come in and process it and do everything else. And so you want that process to be handled immediately. Now, this was a blizzard. Supposedly, this was the worst blizzard in the area in the history of January. So take that for what it is. For the month of January, and it sounds like Massachusetts is pretty bad during the wintertime during January. And for this to be a record breaker, I mean, that should tell you something, right? That the vehicle also was outside and it was in the elements. This is the first time that the lead detective has an opportunity to take a look at the murder weapon in a controlled environment, out of the elements and out of a blizzard and out of control of the suspect. I don't understand when you expect him to look at it, document it, note it. It's dumbfounding the expectations of some people expect for the officers in this case. They expect a perfect investigation in a far from perfect environment. In fact, you can see how bad it's snowing at this time right here. And one of the arguments is that they don't hear people yelling, or they don't hear people being hysterical. The McCabes, the Alberts, that is, that they didn't go outside. They didn't hear anybody yelling. They didn't hear the engines. How much of Karen Reed yelling do you hear here? She admitted to saying, did I hit him, and asking if did I hit him, and yet you can't hear that on the audio or on the dash cam because the wind is too loud. They're right in front of the car yelling and screaming at each other at certain points. And you can barely hear anything. Barely hear anything. So, you know, the other thing is too, so lights and stuff. This was 4 something in the morning after they'd been drinking, drunk, passed out. There's a good chance that Ethan passed away in the Bryan Kohberger case, and that Xana's life was taken at the foot of that at the doorway, and he didn't wake up, and he was right there. All indications, from what I understand, is he was struck in his sleep, and he was the second person to die in that room, or the second person attacked in that room with Xana. So Xana was attacked in the same room by an assailant with a knife, and he didn't wake up. Yet we are supposed to expect to believe that these other folks who are much older, intoxicated, or asleep during the same time, 4 something, 5 o'clock in the morning, and yet we're expecting them to do what nobody else in this neighborhood did. The neighbors across the street didn't wake up. Neighbors to the right, neighbors closer, whose houses were just as close as to the body of John O'Keefe, they didn't come outside either. Interesting stuff. Just saying. You see, I hear somebody barely. They just paused it. Let's see. You can hear somebody yelling. You hear that? And you expect people drunk inside a house with their heater going, you know. God knows if they listen to music while they sleep. I think Jennifer McCabe listens to It's Raining Men or something like that. You think they're going to be like, oh, man, let's wake up at 4 something in the morning. Get out of here. Get out of here. Let's go back. Now, I got into a little bit of a debate with Connor. I was like, all right, Connor. So Jen McCabe was the quarterback, right? Jen McCabe planned this, or not necessarily, there was no planning, let me rephrase it. Jen McCabe was her role was to make sure that John O'Keefe didn't seem like John O'Keefe went into the house. So let me read this exchange of words that we had. All right. All right. So I said that there's also car data that is operated that ties it down. What I was meaning was that it wasn't just the phone data that showed when he got off of the vehicle and things of that nature. There was also car data and a 3-point turn. And Connor says she don't dispute any of the car data, which would tell us to believe that John didn't get off that car until about 30 minutes after after midnight, about 31 minutes and some odd change. I think right after she left, they ran his phone out, and that's why it made those steps so close to her leaving. No phone, not the man. And I was like, Karen told Ellie about the 3-point turn. And she goes, yes, she missed the turn, but I think Way's clock was off because it didn't line up with his Apple Health movements. Let's see. I said, you mentioned they panicked. Do you think they got scared? The Alberts and the McCabes. Of course. I think they were scared, but with half of them being cops, I'm sure they went into cop mode immediately. So what about Jen? She's not a cop. Do you think she was scared of what could happen? No, but she is being guided by them. I think they were scared for Colin's sake. So while she was faking calls, especially while she was faking calls, right? And literally covering up stuff. And they go, yeah, she was being directed. Immediate cover-up mode is what she said. And then, because I'd asked her another video as well, and she had said that everybody, let me find it real quick. She said, Everybody was freaking out. Everybody was panicking. Everybody was scared. The crazy thing is, Jen McCabe's phone or Apple Watch recorded her heart rate. Okay, so let's break down the times in which she's saying some of these things. And this is how I was hoping to get her on the show, because I was going to walk her into this corner, but I ended up doing it on here. I walked her into it, and she admitted I did. Let's see. This is at 12:02. Her heart rate's at 89. 12:10, 96. 12:15, 83. 12:49. So 12:49. This is around the times where she's making some of the calls and things of that nature. 66 beats per minute heart rate. She said they were panicking. They were freaking out. They were scared. 12:55, 70. 102, 71. 117, 85. 119, 75. And it sits between 70s and 80s, mainly 70s, down to the 60s around 3. So she's in deep sleep here. Deep sleep. Now, it was 4:53 when Karen Reed makes the phone call. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's go to 2:27 when the supposed search was happening. 76 on the heart rate. 76. Would you look at that? Oh, but you know what? Let's go to 4:35, 84. Let's go to the next page. At 4:54, 97. Would you look at that? It jumps up. Boom, 97. Jumps right back down to 81. Do you think this is the time that Karen Reed called? I think so. It was 4:53 when she called. Huh? Interesting. Interesting. So she was panicking. She was scared. But yet, no blimp, nothing until Karen Reed calls her at 4:53 in the morning. And then it jumps up and then it calms down. She's probably in denial, like, hold on. Just got to go find him. He's probably at, somewhere she left him. Everybody goes into denial. And then it starts to go up at 5:38, 5:41, 6:02. At 6:42, it's 122 beats per minute. So she's not this calculated cold killer who can control her heart rate, because this is several hours after the crime, and it's now starting to act, start to elevate, starting to go. This alone just debunks any thought of all the crap there that people were saying about her and the fact that, she was quarterbacking this, she had some sort of awareness. Connor goes on to say, did she stay up all night because her heart rate was there? I was like, Connor, when people go to sleep, their heart doesn't stop. It still goes. It still goes. Not everything is a conspiracy. Not everything is a conspiracy. And again, this is, I'd asked my buddy Art if he knew, there was like an outline or anything on testimony that showed the direction of which John O'Keefe's body was found on the lawn. If it was found like as if he was being dragged from the house, or if he was pushed or thrown from the street. Obviously, it was thrown from the street. All right. That's for the next show, guys. You guys don't want to miss that one. All right, now let's talk about. So I have a saying, right, where I tell people, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. And what that means is I can see evidence for myself. I don't need to look at somebody's testimony on their shaky memory of something when there's evidence that's clear and hard, cold facts or video. So the officer today who was testifying mentioned something about not seeing the brake light looking the same. Now, one of the things that he mentioned, and I'm glad he did, because the biggest contention for me was actually on the outside part of the taillight. And the officer that testified today mentioned that outside part of the taillight was the part that was missing. He said it was 6x3, which is about 18 square inches of taillight missing. Sounds about right, 18 square inches of taillights, it's not a small amount. And he also attested that the picture that he saw of the taillight before he arrived, obviously, is what it looked like, which is very close and similar to what we see. Now, I asked when he was testifying, I have a video that I have posted up a while ago about this and how this proves that Karen Reed actually had struck something and had damage to her car before Proctor ever touched or was involved in this case. And I'm showing that there's a large piece of taillight missing. Now, I'll break it down one more time for everybody here, but this is where John's car is. This is her backing out. Now, he said, according to, let me pull it up. According to him, this part right here was the part that was missing. This is what he said in trial today, that was the part he saw missing. That was the part that I was most concerned about, because it looks like it's there, but it's also probably just the angle of the dangle. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's looking downward, so it's probably just this part right here that you can see. And I'm fairly positive now that I'm looking at it, that's exactly what it is. It's just that part, right? It's just this part. But at first glance, I was concerned that maybe it was this part. But he said today that this was the part for sure was missing. Now, why that doesn't bother me is because this part was found by the SRT team, not by Proctor, but by the CERT team. And a lot of people thought that this part here was this part because it curves. But as you can see, this part still has that red piece of plastic at the bottom tail end. This part, that's what people were saying that is this part. In reality, this part is over here on the inside of the tail light. See, it's right here. And it was, as you can see, it was found on the 29th of January by the SRT team. Or you know, it may have been found on the 2nd of February. One of those two, but it was found by the CERT team, and this says Amy, I guess. I guess that's who it's found by. Possibly. One or the other. It's either that time or this time. I'm assuming it's that time because this one says right here, Buchanan on the 3rd, SRT. Yeah, so it's probably right here. SRT, January 29th. This is the piece that they found. This is the piece that they found. And this piece goes right here. As you can see, right here. You guys see my mouse? Everybody nod their head. Right here. Guess what's missing right there? Big chunk of taillight. Big chunk of taillight. I mean, this is at 5:23 in the morning. This is before John's body was found. Her car was protected by the elements in the garage, so it was tucked in. The speed in which they were going in reverse, or she was going in reverse and may have tapped John's vehicle, was less than 1 mile per hour, which the defense's own ARCA cash daddies, whatever you want to call them, said would have been too slow to cause a breakage of the taillight. Their own defense team said that. Not to mention when Welcher goes out there and does the test with the 3D scans that I think Alessi may have slept through, because he was like, wouldn't it be better to use the 3D scans? I mean, even I was like, what, are you not watching? That's exactly what he's using. Well, anyways, when they did the 3D scans, it was actually this bottom tail light. You can kind of, no, you can't see that. That's just a reflection of that. There's this bottom tail light down here. That bottom tail light would have been the closest thing to come in contact with John O'Keefe's car, and that one wasn't damaged at all. Just the one up here. And of course, if somebody got hit straight on, but look at where this is at. This is damn near the edge of the vehicle. This isn't, I don't know why, I think people are getting confused and thinking that he got hit by this tail light. the one on the inside, the one right here, the one on this part. These fins look like the damage to the side of his arm. That's on the very edge of the freaking car. It doesn't take a genius to figure this out, guys. Come on now. A freaking preschooler can look at this and say, oh, well, duh, he didn't get those two cuts from the inside of the tail light. Must have been on the outside. A glance, a side swipe. Come on, guys. You're smarter than this. We are smarter than this. Yeah, 40 miles an hour is a little bit different than 24. And things are different everywhere, guys. The variables can change completely. His arm position can change the damage that would have been caused to the vehicle and to himself. Like there's so many variables, and that's what they're trying to explain. But people think that every accident looks the same. I mean, if somebody, like, this is how bad it is. It's to a certain extent that if somebody got a gun and pistol whipped somebody, and that pistol whip hit him in the temple, and that caused that person to die. You know, the free Karen Reed would look at it, look at the injuries, and say, "Oh man, this guy wasn't shot. This guy's innocent. This guy wasn't shot. He's got blunt force trauma to the head. It wasn't shot, so he must be innocent." No, things happen differently. This did not cause his death. The collision with the car didn't cause his death. The collision with his head to the ground is what caused his death. Now, that could be done by a vehicle. Somebody could have pushed him. It doesn't take very much for somebody to fall and hit their head. And that be what causes death. For those that don't want to believe, SRT team found this piece closest to the inside of the tailgate, and that is the piece that is missing, clear as day. And you can see it in multiple angles. This is another shot of it. You can see this tail light over here on the opposite end better than this side. And you can even see that the inside part of this tail light is not even working. It's the inside part of the tail light, not the outside. Here are the pants I wanted to show. This is the stains here. Now, the way and the possibility that this happens, put your phones in your back pocket, guys. Now, if you were to fly back, just kind of imagine this. If you're flying back and you're landing probably a little bit higher on the top end of your rear there, if this phone, I wish I had a pocket to show this. All right, so if this phone is in the pocket and it goes, and if you pull it straight downward, it's gonna rip your pants. If you have the phone in your back pocket. Now, I don't know, maybe he had a radio tear and getting flown in the air, and him obviously landing pretty dang hard on his ass. I mean, that's what these grass stains show. That probably could have torn it as well. But what you don't see is a swirling pattern either, from somebody changing positions so that way their feet can face the roadway. You don't see that there. Here's the difference of a vehicle with the tail light completely there, as you can see, and with it missing there. Now, I would have argued if I was Karen Reed that this part or this corner of the tail light is there, but Karen Reed's own defense witness, the officer from Dighton, said that part was the part missing for sure. So we have him saying that he knows for a fact that part's missing. We got video evidence for a fact that the other part is missing. So let's do some simple math. If he's saying this part's missing, that's one piece. And we're seeing this part's missing, that's two pieces. What does 1 + 2 mean? That's 3. It means Karen Reed. He saw this. We see this. Ta-da. let's see. I have some. We have 49er girl with her 21-month membership. We have Robert P with a $5 super sticker. Theodore Bundy with a 99-cent super sticker. Steers fan gifting 5 Drunk Turkey Show memberships. And Canadian True Crime Buff also gifting 5 Drunk Turkey Show memberships. Thank you guys. You guys are amazing. All right, so here's Connor. I wish you would have joined us, Connor. Connor says the officer said he saw what he saw. Yeah, I agree. He saw that part missing. He also said that this is how Miss Reed's taillight looked. Exactly like this. Missing pieces. Jeez. Gee willikers. Look, you can see this part right here that it extends over all the way out here. You see the left side? And then on the right side, you can see there's this like thing in the distance. And you can see where the taillight should be right here, covering that thing in the distance, and it's not. And it's, well, you can kind of see the top part, actually. I'm lying. You can see the top part where this part is. But you can also see this part missing. And then you see this black line right here. You see this black line? Let's look at the details. There's that black line. Ouch. And this is before he got there. This is before that dying officer got there. So unless Proctor and Buchanan or whatever his name is, I apologize, go back out there and paste it together and then break it again. It's right there. And for somebody to say, oh, well, there's snow there. Why isn't snow collecting in the same spot here that it is here? Now, if you see right here, there is snow collecting there. Why is it collecting there? Because there's an edge there. Why would it connect here in the middle if there's no edge there? Because remember, let's look at the taillight again. There's no edge here for it to collect. There's no edge here. Maybe on the fins, but the fins are missing, so that's why you don't see the snow sticking out, right? But there's nothing here for the snow to stick onto like that. Now, if we go back here, there's that little edge right there where that black line is, where it can stick onto. So it needs a ledge for it to stick onto. And the only way there's a ledge for snow to stick on there is if the pieces are missing. Because if they aren't missing, then your taillight looks like this. Not like that. I mean, look at the symmetry of the snow on the bottom bumper. It's almost the same. Look at that. Look right here and right here. If the symmetry right here on the snow on the bottom of the bumper is the same, why wouldn't it be the same here and here? Why? Come on, guys. This is just, this is too easy. This is too easy. This is too easy. Denying its reality. I believe that. I don't know what to tell you guys other than the fact that Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe with her car. And she's going to get sued like no other. And apparently, so I don't want to talk about other creators or anything like that, but there's another creator that was, and I'm sure everybody knows who this person is, who was in cahoots with Karen Reed. A lot of people don't like this guy because of his antics, but in my opinion, he might be a little bit of a puppet. I think everything that he's done has been at the direction of Karen Reed. Everything he said, all the harassment, all the things, all the antics has been done at the direction of Karen Reed. That's my opinion. He recently said something to the effect that because he's looking at jail time for witness intimidation, that and serious jail time, prison time, because it's a federal offense. I believe they're charging him with a federal crime. And when it comes to the feds, they don't play around. And if you get 4 years, you do 4 years too. It's not like the state where you get 4 years, you might do 18 months. You know what I'm saying? Good behavior. Nah. So he came out and I think it's starting to hit on him too, because he came out here recently in a clip and said that if he can do a deal where he's not seeing any jail time, he's probably gonna assist with that. You know, if I was the federal government, I would give him that deal if he gave me Karen Reed and Alan Jackson on a platter. You know, there's a lot of smoke to that fire with what they did, whether it was with ARCA, the Signal app, with him, the whole 9 yards, all of it. There's a lot of smoke to that fire. And I think that's his way of getting it out there that, hey, he's ready to play and he's willing to play. Now, if he gives up Karen Reed and some of the things that she said or whatever, or maybe if it's even just on the witness intimidation stuff, you know, I think that a lot of his supporters are probably going to go out the door with him. So either way, either he goes to jail or he dimes them out and he loses all his supporters. He's probably not going to be the same anymore either. Possibly, I don't know. You know, people fall in love with the weirdest of folks. You know, I've seen some creators in the Bryan Kohberger case who have, I'm surprised they get followers, but they do. So it may actually not be any different, to be honest with you, now that I think about it. It seems like there's a lot of the same supporters in both. But with that being said, yeah, exactly. SRT team found pieces of the Taillight before they had the car. And that would also indicate this piece here. This specific piece here before they had the car. The one that is closest to the tailgate and the one that is missing. If you can't say proof, evidence, busted, debunked on everything else, I mean, I think you're just sticking to a narrative that's false. Well, alrighty, guys, I'm going to call it a show. I want to thank everybody. Please hit the follow, like, and subscribe. I'm going to be back on in about an hour with Dr. V. We're going to be talking about the Bryan Kohberger case. You guys aren't going to want to miss it. There's a lot less loonies that follow me on that side. No, I'm just kidding, guys. You guys aren't crazy. I love every one of you guys, even the Karen Reed folks. I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate the support. You guys have a great night. We'll be back in about an hour. Peace.